Welcome to the KinderPage podcast from Toronto. Today is February 18th, 2025, and we're diving into the world of daycare in Ontario. It's a hot topic, you know?
Yeah.
This podcast is based on tons of research, but as always, don't just take our word for it. Double check those details.
You got it. Always get to do your own homework.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine you're thinking, hey, starting a daycare, that's a brilliant idea. Huge demand, lots of government support, but also a lot to figure out.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot to figure out. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We've been digging through all the latest research reports, guidelines, trying to give you the need-to-knows, like a shortcut to smart decision-making.
Love that, a shortcut. All right, so first up, why is everyone talking about daycare in Ontario? I mean, the research says the childcare industry in Canada is going to be worth almost $18 billion by 2030.
Yeah, big numbers. And it's not just hype. It's this combo of growing demand and, the government's putting serious money into it. Take Toronto, for example. Only 31% of the need for childcare for kids under 4 is met by licensed spots.
Whoa, 31%.
Yep.
So there are a ton of families out there needing care. Who are these families exactly?
It's a real mix, actually. You've got your busy working parents, especially in the cities. They need something reliable, something flexible.
Yeah.
Then there are single parents juggling a lot, needing care that works with their lives, and tons of communities are looking for programs that really get their culture, their values.
Right. And of course, we can't forget the elephant in the room, the cost. The research says 75% of families think licensed care in Ontario is just way too expensive.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle. So anyone out there listening, thinking of starting a daycare, maybe you could be the one offering a more affordable option, making a real difference.
Food for thought, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know a lot of people think getting licensed for daycare is a nightmare, a ton of red tape.
Oh, for sure. It can seem intimidating. But I think once you break it down, it's manageable.
Can you walk us through the main steps in Ontario?
Sure. So the Ministry of Education, they've got these detailed guidelines, right? Program stuff, staff qualifications, got to be safe, all that. Then your facility, it's got to pass building codes, fire codes, health codes, the whole shebang. And then you got to register on the system called the Childcare Licensing System, CCLS. That's where you'll submit all the important documents, program policies, floor plans, staff details, that sort of thing. And finally, the big one, the site inspection. An inspector comes, checks everything out, make sure you're following all the rules.
So, how long does all that usually take if everything's going smoothly?
I'd say about 4 to 6 months, give or take. During that time, you'll also have to figure out what kind of program you want to run. In Ontario, you've got choices. Licensed home childcare, licensed childcare centers, before and after school care, or even unlicensed home childcare, which has its own rules. You can only care for a smaller group of kids.
Okay, so you got your license, you're ready to open. How do you stand out? What makes your daycare the place to be?
Aha, the million-dollar question. You got to figure out your unique selling proposition, your USP. It's like, what's your superpower? Maybe you specialize in something, There's a lot of buzz about play-based learning these days, letting kids learn through exploration, following their curiosity.
I love that. Or maybe you're all about STEM, or even bilingual programs.
Exactly. You got to cater to what families in your community are looking for.
And let's be real, modern families are busy. So maybe your superpower is flexibility, extended hours, part-time options, maybe working with those subsidy programs to make things more affordable.
All fantastic points. And never underestimate the power of a great team, Qualified ECEs, people who love what they do, who are always learning, who can communicate really well with parents.
For sure. And it's got to be more than just a safe building, right?
Yeah.
Which obviously is super important. But parents want a space that's fun, that's stimulating, a space where their kids can thrive.
You hit the nail on the head. You want a space where kids are excited to be, where they're learning and growing.
Okay, and how do you build that sense of community? How do you bring everyone together, the families, the staff, everyone?
Well, you got to be creative. Parent workshops, sharing daily updates so they know what's going on, maybe fun events that get everyone involved. Some daycares even team up with local businesses, like a bakery for a baking class or something. It's about creating a place where families feel like they belong.
Awesome. Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the day-to-day of running a daycare. What are the secrets to making it all run smoothly?
Well, first off, you got to have a schedule, a structure. Kids thrive on routine, right?
Yeah.
So you got to balance active play with quiet time. And of course, those learning blocks got to be age appropriate. And speaking of ages, let's talk staffing. Finding and keeping qualified ECEs, that's the holy grail.
I hear that all the time. What's the secret sauce for attracting and retaining those amazing ECEs.
Well, competitive pay is a must, obviously, but it's also about creating a great place to work, opportunities to learn and grow, feeling appreciated, a positive team vibe. Turnover can really hurt a daycare, so investing in your staff is key.
Makes sense. And of course, we can't forget about health and safety. No compromises there. How do you make sure you're meeting all the standards and keeping parents in the loop?
Transparency and communication are your best friends. Follow those sanitation rules like a boss. Stay updated on immunizations, have those emergency plans ready to go, and keep those parents informed, you know? You're taking care of little humans, so you got to be on top of it.
No doubt about it. Okay, so we've talked about the kids, the staff. But at the end of the day, a daycare is a business too. Let's get real about the money stuff. What's it really like financially to start and run a daycare in Ontario?
You bet. Time to talk dollars and cents. It's important to know what you're getting into, right? The costs, the funding options, how to make it all work.
So first off, is there any help out there? Any funding to make starting a daycare a little less financially terrifying?
Definitely. There are government grants, both federal and provincial, specifically to help create new childcare spots. Then there's the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare System, the CCEYA LCC. That's all about affordable, accessible childcare for everyone. And depending on where you are, you might even qualify for municipal subsidies. It's worth looking into all of them, seeing what you can snag.
All right, that's good to know. But even with funding, I imagine there's still some big upfront costs. What are some of the things people should be ready for?
Yep, those initial investments can be hefty. Rent or a mortgage if you're not working from home, then making the space safe for kids. All the toys and equipment and learning materials, plus licensing fees and insurance. It adds up fast.
So you've got the initial stuff, but what about the day-to-day? What are the biggest expenses for daycare owners?
Staff are usually the biggest chunk. Probably 40–50% of your income goes right back to paying your amazing team. Then you've got your building costs, rent or mortgage, utilities, keeping everything in good shape, all that. That can be another 25–30%. You really got to have a good grasp of your budget.
Yeah, sounds like careful planning is key.
Yeah.
Any tips for making sure a daycare is, financially sustainable?
Having a financial cushion is smart, like 3 to 6 months of reserve funds, just in case things get bumpy, unexpected costs, or if enrollment dips a bit. And don't be afraid to get creative with revenue.
Ooh, creative revenue. Tell me more. What are some ways daycare owners can bring in more money?
Think extended hours to help out those working parents. Maybe offer special camps or workshops during school breaks. Sibling discounts are always popular. And keeping your fees clear and upfront builds trust and avoids confusion.
Makes sense. And speaking of the future, we got to talk about KinderPage's AI search.
Oh.
It's launching soon, and it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
Families will be able to find the perfect childcare fit through a smart chat. Super easy.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be huge. So all you daycare providers out there, make sure your KinderPage listings are up to date, packed with all the details about your programs and everything. That way the AI can really work its magic and connect you with the right families.
It's all about making it easier for everyone.
Right. Exactly. Now, I think it's time we dive into the legal side of things. Starting a daycare, it's not just about loving kids, it's a business. And there are rules. So yeah, we were just talking about the money side of things. But even the best daycare in the world, if nobody knows about it, it's not going to work, right?
You're telling me marketing is key. And these days, it's all about being online.
For sure. Having a website that looks good or a really detailed profile on a platform like KinderPage, that's huge. Parents want to see what you're all about. Pictures, videos, the whole 9 yards. Happy kids, engaged staff, the real deal.
Right. Give them a sneak peek into a day at your daycare. Let them see what their kid's life would be like there.
Exactly. Transparency is so important. And don't forget to brag about your staff a little. Parents want to know their kids are with qualified, experienced people. So highlight those credentials, certifications, all that good stuff.
Makes sense. But what about going beyond the online world? How do you get families excited about your daycare out in the community?
You got to get involved. Local events, partner up with businesses that are family-friendly, maybe even connect with pediatricians in your area. It's all about building relationships, getting your name out there.
Word of mouth is still king, right? Happy parents are your best ads.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing beats a recommendation from another parent who loves your daycare. That's the gold standard. Create a place where parents are raving about you. That's the best marketing you can get.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Something that often gets lost in the shuffle when you're thinking of opening a daycare is choosing the right business structure.
It's easy to get caught up in all the fun stuff, the kids, the activities, and forget about the boring but important stuff. But choosing the right structure is crucial. It can really affect how things run down the line.
So break it down for us. What are the main types of business structures for daycares in Ontario?
Well, you've got your sole proprietorship, your partnership, and incorporation. They each have their own pros and cons when it comes to things like liability, taxes, all that fun stuff.
Okay, walk us through it. What are the key differences? Like, what's good about a sole proprietorship? What's not so good?
All right, so a sole proprietorship, that's the simplest one. It's basically just you running the show. Super easy to set up, you make all the decisions, but you're also personally on the hook for any debts the business racks up.
Ah, so simple to start, but maybe a bit riskier financially.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. Then you've got partnerships, kind of like a sole proprietorship, but with two or more people sharing the ownership, the responsibilities, all of it.
So you're sharing the burden, but also the risk.
Exactly. You share the profits, the losses, the decision-making. It's super important to have a really clear agreement in place that lays out who's doing what, who's responsible for what. You don't want any surprises down the line.
And lastly, incorporation. How's that different?
Incorporation basically means you're creating a separate legal entity for your daycare. It's like its own person, separate from you. The good news is it means you're not personally liable for any debts. The business is responsible, not you.
So less risk for you personally, but I'm guessing it's more complicated to set up.
You got it. More paperwork, more regulations, more reporting requirements. It's definitely a bigger undertaking.
Sounds like picking the right business structure is a big decision, no matter how you slice it.
Absolutely. It's worth talking to a lawyer or an accountant who knows their stuff about small businesses. They can help you figure out what's best for your situation.
Okay, back to the legal stuff for a sec. We mentioned the Childcare and Early Years Act, the CCEYA before. That's pretty important, right?
Hugely important. You can't just make up the rules as you go along. The CCEYA lays out all the regulations and standards that every licensed daycare in Ontario has to follow. Staff-to-child ratios, what you teach, health and safety protocols, the whole shebang.
So those rules are there to protect the kids, make sure they're safe and well cared for.
Exactly. Get to know the CCEYA like it's your best friend. Make sure you're following it to a T. And don't skimp on insurance. It's there to protect you, your staff, and the kids if anything unexpected happens.
Navigating all that legal stuff can seem overwhelming. Any advice for people who are feeling a bit lost?
Don't panic. There are tons of resources out there to help you. The Ministry of Education has a great website with loads of information. And there are organizations like the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare. They offer support and advice specifically for childcare providers.
And I bet connecting with other daycare owners can be super helpful too.
Oh, for sure. It's a great way to learn from each other's experiences, share tips, and just vent sometimes. It's a tough but rewarding job, and having a support system is so important.
And of course, KinderPage is here to help too. Our platform is all about connecting families with awesome childcare providers. We want to make the search easier for everyone.
And with our new AI search launching soon, it's going to be even easier. Families can find their perfect match in a snap. So daycare providers, keep those KinderPage listings fresh and up to date. The more info you provide, the better the AI can work its magic.
It's all about using technology to make things smoother and more efficient for everyone.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We talked marketing, business structures, and all the legal stuff you need to know.
It can seem like a lot, but hopefully you're starting to see that running a daycare, while challenging, it's also incredibly rewarding.
For sure. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to meet some amazing daycare providers who are doing amazing things. Get ready to be inspired.
Welcome back to the KinderPage podcast. So in this last part of our deep dive, we're going to shift gears a little, get inspired by some real-life daycare success stories right here in Ontario.
Exactly. We want to introduce you to some awesome people who are out there crushing it in this industry, making a difference for the kids and families they work with.
Okay, so who's up first?
Our first success story comes from, well, let's call her Sarah. She runs a place called Sunshine Kids over in Oakville.
Sunshine Kids. Cute.
Yeah.
What makes them so special?
Sarah has built this amazing reputation for, well, she does things a little differently. She's all about nature-based learning. The kids spend a ton of time outdoors, getting their hands dirty, learning about plants and bugs and all that.
I love that. Kids need more time in nature for sure.
Totally. And Sarah has really gone all out. They have this incredible outdoor play area, gardens, a mud kitchen, you name it. The kids are encouraged to explore, build stuff, just learn by doing.
So it's like a dream come true for kids.
Yeah.
And for parents who are tired of their kids being cooped up inside all day.
Right. And it's not just about the physical space. Sarah is super big on community. They do nature walks with the families, seasonal festivals. They even have a community garden where everyone can pitch in and grow their own food.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about building connections.
Exactly. And all that passion, that focus on community, it's made Sunshine Kids the place to be in Oakville. Parents are lining up to get their kids in.
So inspiring. She's really created a business that reflects her values.
Okay, ready for our next success story. This one's about a guy named James. He runs a home-based daycare in Brampton, and he's absolutely killing it.
Home-based, huh? What's his secret?
James has this incredible gift for working with the littlest ones, the infants and toddlers. He's created this warm, loving environment in his home where these tiny humans feel safe and stimulated.
Oh, that's so sweet. Working with that age group takes a special kind of person. What does James do to make it work so well?
Well, he's really big on routine. Babies and toddlers thrive on predictability, right? So he has a really consistent daily schedule. And of course, his house is set up perfectly. Dedicated play areas, age-appropriate toys, all that. But what really stands out is how much one-on-one time he gives each kid. Cuddles, songs, stories.
He sounds like a baby whisperer.
He really does. And he's built great relationships with the parents, too. Lots of communication, updates throughout the day, pictures. It gives parents peace of mind knowing their little ones are in such good hands.
It's amazing to hear about people like Sarah and James, people who are so dedicated to making a difference in the lives of these little kids.
Totally. These stories are just a tiny snapshot of what's happening in the world of childcare in Ontario. There are so many passionate people out there who are going above and beyond for the kids they care for.
It really shows that running a successful daycare is about so much more than just the business side of things. It's about heart. It's about dedication. It's about truly loving what you do.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up this deep dive into daycare in Ontario, let's recap some of the big takeaways for those of you who are ready to jump in and start your own journey.
Okay, give us the highlights.
First off, the demand is there, and it's growing like crazy. Parents need quality care, and the government is putting their money where their mouth is with funding and support. So if you've been thinking about starting a daycare, now is the time.
But as we've talked about, you got to be prepared. Do your research, make a solid plan, and understand all the rules and regulations.
You got it. And don't be afraid to think outside the box. What's going to make your daycare stand out? What's your special sauce? Maybe it's a specific curriculum, or a focus on outdoor play, or a commitment to building a strong community. Whatever it is, make it yours.
And remember, KinderPage is here to help you along the way. We connect families with amazing daycare providers, and we're always working to make that process even easier.
Exactly. And with our new AI-powered search launching soon, finding the perfect match is going to be a breeze. So, to all the daycare providers out there, make sure your KinderPage listings are up to date, packed with all the details about your amazing programs. Let the AI do its thing and connect you with the right families.
It's all about working together to create a better future for our kids.
Absolutely. To all the parents and caregivers out there, keep exploring KinderPage, check out all those amazing daycare profiles, and find the perfect fit for your little ones. We're here to support you every step of the way.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive. We hope you found this episode informative, maybe even a little inspiring. Remember, this podcast is based on research, but always double-check those details yourself, okay?
And whether you're a budding daycare owner or a parent on the hunt for the perfect childcare, we're cheering you on.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the KinderPage podcast.